What if I told you that right now, today, there is a country that has built a train station so massive that astronauts have described it as something belonging on another planet? A country where you can swim in an infinity pool, suspended 250 meters in the air between 4 skyscrapers. A country where engineers looked at a mountain so steep, so impossibly vertical, that the only logical solution was to send a highway straight through the middle of a residential apartment building. And a country where an entire bridge, stretching the length of a full marathon, disappears beneath the ocean floor so that cargo ships can pass overhead. That country is China, and none of what I just described is fiction. None of it is concept art. None of it is a rendering from some architect's imagination. Every single place we are about to show you has been built. People walk through it. People live in it. People drive on it and swim in it right now. As you watch this video, most people outside of China have no idea these places exist. And that is exactly why we made this video. Over the next several minutes, we are going to take you through the most jaw-dropping, physics-challenging, visually stunning places that China has created. Places so ambitious and so audacious that by the end of this video, you are going to have serious questions about what is actually possible and what the rest of the world has been doing while China was building all of this. Let us begin. Our first stop is in Hunan province, in a region so dramatic and so visually otherworldly that Hollywood used it as direct inspiration for the floating mountains in the movie Avatar. This is Zhangjiajie, and suspended across one of its deepest canyons is a structure that has made grown adults drop to their hands and knees and crawl, the Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge. Close your eyes for a second and imagine this. You take one step forward. Beneath your feet, instead of solid ground, there is nothing but transparent glass, and beneath that glass, 300 meters of empty air. That is nearly 1,000 feet of open canyon between the soles of your shoes and the rocks far below. The canyon walls rise around you. Mist drifts through the gorge. Sandstone pillars disappear into the clouds above and below, and you are standing in the middle of all of it, on glass, with nothing solid beneath you for the length of a 90-story building. This is not a theme park ride. This is a real bridge that real people cross every single day. The Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge stretches 430 meters from one cliff face to the other, making it one of the longest glass-bottomed bridges in the world. It is 6 meters wide and was designed by Israeli-Chinese architect Haim Dotan. The bridge uses 99 panels of 3-layered tempered glass, each panel approximately 33 millimeters thick across all 3 layers. Engineers tested this glass brutally before a single visitor set foot on it. They drove a full-size car across the surface. Workers swung sledgehammers at the panels. Heavy steel balls were dropped onto the glass from significant height. In some tests, the surface cracked, but the glass never shattered. It never gave way. It never broke through. Here is the moment that has traveled around the world millions of times on social media. When the bridge first opened in 2016, some visitors stepped onto the transparent floor, looked down into the canyon below, and simply could not continue. Their bodies refused. Grown adults, people who had crossed oceans to be there, dropped to their hands and knees and crawled across because standing upright felt impossible. Videos of tourists frozen at the railing, gripping the sides with both hands, unable to take a single step forward, have been watched hundreds of millions of times. There is something deeply human about that reaction. You can know intellectually that the glass is safe. You can know that it has been tested and certified and approved. But when your eyes send the signal to your brain that there is nothing beneath you except 300 meters of open air, your body overrides everything you know and refuses to move. That is the Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge. And we are just getting started. We are staying in Hunan province, but moving to a completely different mountain, because this part of China seems to produce places that your mind genuinely struggles to accept as real. Tianmen Mountain rises 1,518 meters above sea level, and near its summit, nature did something that took millions of years and produced a result so extraordinary that people who see it for the first time genuinely question whether the photographs have been edited. This is Heaven's Gate. Tianmen Cave is a natural archway carved through the peak of the mountain by geological forces over millions of years. The opening stands 131 meters high, 57 meters wide, and 60 meters deep. To understand that scale, the opening alone is taller than a 40-story building. It is a colossal hole punched through solid rock near the summit. and when clouds drift slowly through it from one side to the other, the effect is so dramatic, so otherworldly, that no photograph fully captures it. You have to stand there. You have to watch the clouds move through that stone doorway to understand why millions of people have called it one of the most beautiful natural sights on Earth. To reach Heaven's Gate, you have two options. Both of them are extraordinary in their own right. The first is the Tianmen Mountain Cableway. At approximately 7,455 meters in length, it is one of the longest passenger aerial ropeways in the world. The journey takes around 30 minutes, and during the ascent, you pass through layers of forest, then cloud, then open sky. At certain points during the ride, the mountain drops away beneath you so steeply that you feel less like you are riding a cable car and more like you are floating. The second option is to drive Chongqing Avenue. This is an 11-kilometer road that ascends the face of the mountain through exactly 99 hairpin bends. The number is deliberate. In Chinese culture, the number 9 is deeply associated with heaven, eternity, and the divine. Driving these 99 bends, each one revealing a new angle of the mountain, each one placing the valley further below you, is an experience that professional drivers have called one of the most dramatic road journeys in the world. But before you reach Heaven's Gate, you pass the Tianmen Mountain Skywalk. This is a glass walkway bolted directly onto the face of a sheer cliff at approximately 1,400 meters above the valley. The path is about 60 meters long, hugging the vertical rock wall with a transparent glass floor between your feet and the landscape far below. It is only 1.6 meters wide. The mountain presses against your shoulder on one side. On the other side, there is nothing between you and the valley floor except open mountain air and the glass beneath your shoes. Visitors must wear special cloth covers over their footwear to protect the glass surface. Many of them describe the Skywalk as the most intensely physical experience of their lives, not because of physical exertion, but because of the way the body responds to seeing the ground so far below through something transparent. Tianmen Mountain gives you the Skywalk, the road, the cableway, and Heaven's Gate. It is one mountain, and it contains more remarkable experiences than most entire countries can offer. Now we leave the mountains entirely and move to the water. Because what China has built across the Pearl River Delta is the kind of infrastructure project that makes engineers from other countries go quiet when they study it. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai Macau Bridge is the longest sea-crossing bridge and tunnel system in the world. The total length of the entire crossing, including all connecting infrastructure and the tunnel section, reaches approximately 55 kilometers. That is longer than a full marathon distance, built across open ocean. But here is the problem that the engineers had to solve first. Before a single pylon could be placed in the water, the team faced a challenge that had no straightforward answer. The Pearl River Delta is one of the busiest shipping corridors in Asia. Enormous cargo vessels, some of the largest ships ever built, move through these waters constantly. If you build a bridge at standard height, ships cannot pass beneath it, and building the entire 55-kilometer structure high enough to clear the tallest vessels would cost an almost unimaginable amount of money and create structural challenges that had never been solved at that scale. So the engineers made a decision that sounds impossible until you understand the logic. They decided to sink part of the road beneath the ocean floor. In the middle of the crossing, the highway descends below the surface of the water and becomes an undersea tunnel. Vehicles drive beneath the seabed while ships travel above them on the surface. The tunnel section runs for approximately 6.7 kilometers under the water. And to create the transition points where road becomes tunnel and tunnel becomes road again, engineers needed solid ground in the middle of open ocean where no land existed. So they built it. 2 artificial islands were constructed from scratch in open water. Enormous steel cylinders were driven into the seabed, filled with concrete and compacted sand, and solid ground was created where there had been nothing but ocean. These islands serve as the portals where vehicles descend into the tunnel and re-emerge on the other side. Think about that sequence for a moment. You are driving a car. You are on a highway bridge over the ocean. The road curves gently downward. You enter a tunnel. You drive beneath the seabed. Ships cross above you. You emerge back into daylight on an artificial island that was built specifically for this moment. And then you continue driving on a bridge above the water again. More than 400,000 tons of steel went into this project. That is the equivalent of approximately 54 Eiffel Towers. The structure was designed to survive direct typhoon strikes. earthquakes measuring up to magnitude 8 on the Richter scale, and the collision of a 300,000-ton vessel against its foundations. When it opened in October 2018, the journey between Hong Kong and Zhuhai that once took approximately 4 hours by road was reduced to 30 minutes. Standing on this bridge and looking toward the horizon, you cannot see where it ends. The road simply continues until it dissolves into ocean haze. It is one of the most quietly surreal driving experiences on Earth. Now we arrive in Chongqing, and Chongqing deserves its own extended conversation because this city does not play by any rules that other cities follow. Chongqing is one of the most populated urban areas on Earth. It is built across mountains, river valleys, and cliffs so steep that the concept of a flat street barely exists here. The terrain is so extreme, so relentlessly vertical, that urban planners have been forced to develop solutions that would be considered completely absurd in any other city in the world. And two of those solutions are so extraordinary that they have become internationally famous. Not as engineering achievements, but as photographs that people refuse to believe are real. The first is Raffles City Chongqing. Stand on the riverbank where the Yangtze and Jialing rivers converge and look up. What you see rising above you is 8 towers, the tallest reaching 350 meters into the sky. But your eyes will not stay on the towers for long, because connecting 4 of those towers at 250 meters above street level is something that should not be possible. A horizontal structure stretching 300 meters in length, suspended between 4 vertical skyscrapers like a bridge between giants. This is the Crystal, and it is not a decorative connection. It is not a narrow walkway. It is a fully functioning sky destination, 250 meters above the ground. Inside the Crystal, there is a sky garden. There is a public viewing deck, there are restaurants, there is a hotel lobby, and there is an infinity pool where you can swim while looking out over one of the largest cities in the world from a height that puts you level with the clouds on overcast days. The Crystal stretches 300 meters from end to end. The Eiffel Tower is 330 meters tall. You are walking through something nearly as long as the Eiffel Tower is tall, and it is floating between 4 skyscrapers a quarter of a kilometer above a city of millions. The building was designed by architect Moshe Safdie, whose previous work includes the Marina Bay Sands complex in Singapore. If you know the famous rooftop infinity pool at Marina Bay Sands, understand that the Crystal at Raffles City Chongqing is approximately 4 times that length and sits significantly higher above the ground. To construct the Crystal, engineers built it in massive sections on the ground and then used hydraulic jacking systems to lift each section into position between the towers. Each section weighed thousands of tons. The margin for error during the lifting process was measured in millimeters because all 4 towers had to align perfectly for the horizontal structure to connect without gaps or stress points. At night, standing inside the Crystal and looking outward in any direction, you see Chongqing spread beneath you like a living map. The 2 rivers catch the light of the city. The hillside neighborhoods glow. The bridges crossing the rivers far below look like strings of light. It is one of the most spectacular urban views anywhere on Earth. Now, the second Chongqing wonder. A few kilometers away from Raffles City, on the Chongqing Rail Transit Line 2, there is a station called Lizhi. And what happens at this station is something that a reasonable person, shown a photograph of it without context, would refuse to accept. The light rail line passes directly through the 6th, 7th, and 8th floors of a 19-story residential apartment building. People live in this building. They wake up in the morning in their apartments. They cook breakfast. They go about their lives. And every few minutes, throughout the entire day, a full-size passenger train passes through their building at the 6th floor level, roughly 20 meters above the street. When footage of Lizhi Station first circulated internationally on social media, the reaction was almost universally the same. Fake. Definitely fake. Camera trick. Composite image. Digitally altered. It is not fake. The building and the rail line were designed and planned together as a single integrated infrastructure solution. The terrain in this part of Chongqing made routing the rail line around the building prohibitively expensive and technically complicated. The solution that engineers developed was to route the line through the building, designing the structure from the foundation up to accommodate the train on its middle floors. To manage the noise and vibration, The system uses rubber-tired trains mounted on specialized shock-absorbing infrastructure that isolates the vibration from the residential floors above and below. Residents in the building report that the sound of a passing train inside their apartments is roughly equivalent to a dishwasher running in an adjacent room. Stand on the street below Lizhi station and watch. A train emerges from what looks like the side of an apartment building. 6 floors above your head, glides through the structure, and disappears into the building on the other side every few minutes. Let us now talk about a building that does not simply redefine what an airport looks like. It redefines what a building is allowed to feel like. Beijing Daxing International Airport opened in September 2019. And from the moment the first photographs appeared online, architects, engineers, designers, and ordinary people around the world had the same reaction. That cannot be a real building. It is. The terminal was designed by Zaha Hadid Architects, the firm founded by the legendary Zaha Hadid, who passed away in March 2016. The project was completed under the leadership of Patrick Schumacher, who leads the firm today, in collaboration with ADP Ingénierie. The terminal covers approximately 700,000 square meters of total floor space across all its levels, making it one of the largest single-structure airport terminals ever constructed. From above, the building looks like a living creature, a massive starfish, a phoenix with its wings fully extended. 6 curved concourses sweep outward from a central atrium in a flowing star pattern, and the entire structure seems to breathe rather than simply sit on the ground. But here is what separates Daxing from every other ambitious airport ever built. The design is not just beautiful, it is brilliant. Because of the radial layout, no matter which departure gate you are assigned, you are never more than an 8-minute walk from the central security checkpoint. 8 minutes. In most major international airports, reaching a distant gate can require 20, 30, or in some cases, 40 minutes of walking through corridors that feel endless. Daxing eliminated that problem entirely, not through moving walkways or automated trains, but through pure geometry. The shape of the building is the solution. Now step inside. The roof of the terminal is a single continuous flowing structure. In the central hall, there are no internal support columns interrupting your view. The ceiling rises above you in enormous organic curves, broken at intervals by thousands of skylights that pour natural light into the space below throughout the day. As the sun moves across the sky, the patterns of light inside the terminal shift and change. The building is alive with natural light in a way that almost no other indoor space of its size achieves. There are no hard edges inside Daxing, no sharp corners. Walls curve seamlessly into ceilings. Ceilings curve into floors. The architectural language is entirely organic. Standing in the central atrium and looking upward, you do not feel like you are inside a construction of steel and glass. You feel like you are inside something that grew. The airport was built in 4 years. At peak construction, more than 40,000 workers were on site simultaneously. The airport opened with an initial capacity of 45 million passengers per year, with phased expansion targets reaching towards 72 million annually in subsequent years, and an ultimate long-term capacity projection of 100 million passengers per year. Beneath the terminal, a high-speed rail station, a subway connection, and an intercity rail link are all integrated into the same structure. You land at Daxing, collect your bags, walk downstairs, and board a high-speed train that delivers you to central Beijing in approximately 20 minutes. When architects from around the world visited Daxing after it opened, many of them described it as the most beautiful airport they had ever entered. Several went further. They called it one of the most beautiful public buildings constructed anywhere in the world in the 21st century. Walk through it yourself, even in photographs and video, and you will understand exactly what they mean. Now, I want you to do something for me. Stand up straight wherever you are right now. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Feel how solid it is. Feel the reassurance of having something firm and real supporting your weight. Now imagine standing on a bridge so high above the valley floor beneath it that if you dropped an object from the railing, you would count to 10 before it hit the ground. 10 full seconds of free fall. the object would reach speeds of nearly 100 meters per second before impact. That is how far below you the Earth would be. This is the Shuangfeng Bridge in Guizhou Province. Completed in 2022, it is currently the highest bridge in the world. It rises 572 meters above the valley floor. That number needs a comparison to land properly. The One World Trade Center in New York, the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, stands 541 meters to its roof. The Shuangfeng Bridge is higher than that. You could take the One World Trade Center, place it in the valley below the Shuangfeng Bridge, and the roof of that skyscraper would still not reach the road surface of the bridge above it. And people drive across this bridge every day. Ordinary commuters, delivery trucks, buses. The Shuangfeng Bridge is not a tourist attraction. It is a working piece of infrastructure that connects communities separated by terrain that was previously nearly impossible to cross efficiently. Before bridges like this existed in Guizhou, crossing from one side of a deep mountain valley to the other could take an entire day. You descended into the valley on winding mountain roads, crossed the river at the bottom, and then climbed back up the other side. Weather could make roads impassable. In winter, those descents and ascents were genuinely dangerous. Now, you drive across in minutes, 572 meters above where you used to travel. The geological environment that makes bridges like this necessary is called karst terrain. Guizhou Province sits on a vast foundation of limestone rock that has been carved over millions of years by underground rivers. The landscape is a maze of deep gorges, hidden caves, collapsed caverns, and underground waterways. Building bridge foundations in this environment is extraordinarily complex because the rock beneath is not uniform or reliably solid. Engineers must drill deep into the earth, test the composition of the rock at every level, and design foundations that account for the possibility of cavities and water channels running through the limestone far below. The engineering knowledge developed in Guizhou over the past 2 decades, from solving these specific geological challenges, has advanced bridge engineering globally. Techniques pioneered in the karst valleys of Guizhou are now applied to difficult bridge projects in other countries. Standing on the Shuangfeng Bridge and looking over the railing is described by visitors as one of the most visceral and physically overwhelming experiences available to a human being who is not a professional extreme sports athlete. The valley floor is so far below that on cloudy days, you cannot see it at all. You look down and see only cloud. The bridge road surface is above the weather. Let that settle. You are standing on a road, above the clouds. After the raw, almost aggressive scale of a bridge that sits above the clouds, we are going to slow down for a moment, because the next impossible place in China does not challenge you with height or engineering statistics. It challenges you with pure beauty. The Sheraton Huzhou Hot Spring Resort sits at the edge of Taihu Lake in Zhejiang Province, and the building itself is shaped like a horseshoe. A perfect arc rising 27 stories from the lakeshore, with both ends of the curve anchored to the ground, and the top of the arc sweeping high above the water. The architect was Ma Yansong of Mad Architects, one of the most celebrated architectural firms in China, and increasingly one of the most respected in the world. The exterior of the building is wrapped in layered aluminum rings that create a rippling, almost liquid visual effect. From a distance, the building seems to shimmer and vibrate, as though it is not quite solid. But wait until night. After dark, the building is transformed by programmable LED lighting that washes the entire curved facade in slowly shifting colors. Blues melt into purples. Whites pulse gently across the surface. And because the building sits directly at the edge of Taihu Lake, the still water reflects the entire illuminated arc below it. The building above and its reflection below create a perfect glowing circle of light, half in the air, half in the water. A complete ring of color hovering at the boundary between sky and lake. This is one of the most photographed buildings in China after dark, and the photographs still do not fully prepare you for seeing it in person. The hotel contains 282 rooms. The majority face the lake directly, offering panoramic water views from floor-to-ceiling windows. The complex includes natural hot spring pools where guests bathe with the lake stretching out in front of them. At the very top of the arc, positioned at the highest point of the horseshoe curve, there is a wedding chapel. Couples exchange vows in a glass-enclosed space suspended high above the water, with the lake and the surrounding landscape visible in every direction. In a video full of places defined by scale and engineering ambition, the Sheraton Huzhou offers something different. It offers stillness, reflection, the kind of beauty that does not demand anything from you except that you stop and look. There is a place in the mountains outside Chongqing where the earth did something so extraordinary over such an incomprehensible span of time that even standing directly in front of the result, you struggle to accept that it is natural, that no human being designed it, that it simply happened, slowly, invisibly, over millions of years. The Wulong Karst National Geology Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and at its heart are 3 natural limestone bridges, formed not by engineers or architects, but by underground rivers that spent millions of years carving through solid rock, eroding the ceilings of vast subterranean caverns, and eventually leaving behind enormous stone arches spanning deep open gorges. 3 bridges, all natural, all ancient, all enormous beyond easy comprehension. The largest is Tianmen Bridge, the Sky Dragon. It stands approximately 235 meters high with a span of around 150 meters. Walk beneath it and look up. The stone arch above you is so massive, so ancient, so completely indifferent to your presence that the experience is closer to standing inside a natural cathedral than visiting a geological formation. The rock above you has been there for longer than our species has existed. It will be there long after we are gone. Now here is where the human story enters this ancient landscape. Engineers and designers have attached modern glass-bottomed observation platforms and cantilevered skywalks to the cliffs and edges surrounding these natural bridges. Visitors can now stand on transparent glass floors and look straight down into the gorges hundreds of meters below. One platform extends directly over the edge of a sheer cliff face, with nothing beneath the glass but open air and the river valley far below. The contrast this creates is profound. You are standing on a glass and steel platform built last decade, looking at a stone arch formed before human civilization existed. Modern engineering and geological deep time occupy the same frame, the newest and the oldest existing simultaneously, with nothing between them but air and the sound of wind moving through ancient stone. What makes Wulong particularly powerful as a place is that the human additions do not diminish the natural wonder. They enhance your ability to experience it. The glass floor does not compete with the stone arch above. It simply removes the barrier between you and the full scale of what nature created here over millions of patient years. Our final stop brings us to something that looks less like architecture and more like a vision of what cities might become if they stopped fighting nature and started growing alongside it instead. China has been building vertical forests, and before you picture a few potted plants on a balcony, understand that we mean something dramatically more ambitious than that. The Nanjing vertical forest is 2 towers. One rises 200 meters. The other 108 meters. And from the ground floor to the very top of both buildings, every level, every floor, every balcony is covered in living vegetation. Approximately 1,100 trees, 2,500 shrubs, 2,500 perennial plants, all of them growing on the exterior of 2 skyscrapers in the middle of a major Chinese city. The project was designed by Italian architect Stefano Boeri, and the visual effect when you see these towers in person is deeply disorienting in the most wonderful way. Your eyes are trained to see buildings as glass and steel and concrete, hard edges, reflective surfaces, the vocabulary of cities, and then your gaze arrives at these 2 towers and the vocabulary completely breaks down. There are trees, full-grown trees with canopies and branches and leaves moving in the wind. On the 30th floor, on the 40th floor, swaying gently above a city of millions as though the forest has simply decided to grow upward rather than outward. But this is not decoration. The 1,100 trees and thousands of plants on these two buildings absorb an estimated 25 tons of carbon dioxide annually and produce approximately 60 kilograms of oxygen per day. Figures based on the designer's calculations for the specific vegetation planted. They filter particulate pollution from the surrounding urban air. They provide shade that reduces the solar heat absorbed by the building, lowering the energy required for cooling. They create habitats for birds and insects in an environment that would otherwise offer none. The ambition does not stop at Nanjing. In Chengdu, the Qi City Forest Garden is a residential complex where every apartment balcony was structurally designed and reinforced specifically to support the weight of trees and dense plantings. Residents have filled these balconies so completely with vegetation that the buildings, seen from outside, look like green cliffs. Like the forest has swallowed a residential complex whole. In Luzhou, in Guangxi province, planners have developed a proposal for something even more radical: an entire forest city. A new urban district where the standard for every building, from apartment towers to office blocks to schools to hospitals, would include living vegetation as a mandatory architectural element. Not as an optional feature, not as a design flourish, as a fundamental part of what a building is. When these ideas were first proposed, they sounded utopian, abstract, the kind of thing that gets drawn and discussed and then quietly abandoned when the practical challenges become clear. China is building them anyway. And standing beneath the Nanjing vertical forest and looking up at trees growing from the 35th floor against an open sky, you get a specific feeling that is difficult to name but impossible to forget. It is the feeling of seeing something you were told was impossible existing quietly and confidently in front of you. It is the feeling of the future arriving without announcement. Here is what I want you to sit with as this video ends. Every single place we showed you today was built within the last 15 years. The Daxing Airport opened in 2019, the Hong Kong Zhuhai Macau Bridge in 2018, Raffles City, Chongqing in 2019, the Shuangfeng Bridge, the highest bridge on Earth, in 2022, the Nanjing Vertical Forest in 2018. 15 years, one country, a glass bridge over a canyon that makes adults crawl, a passenger train passing through the middle of a residential skyscraper, a highway that dives beneath the ocean floor so ships can sail above it, a hotel shaped like a glowing horseshoe reflected in a lake, a bridge so high the road sits above the clouds, an airport that feels like the inside of a living organism, buildings wrapped in living forests growing 40 stories above the street, all of it real, all of it open, all of it existing right now. So here's the question we are genuinely leaving you with, and we want your answer in the comments because we are going to read every single one. If this is what 15 years of building produced, what does the next 15 years look like? What does China construct between now and 2040 that we cannot currently imagine? What place will exist then that sounds like pure fiction today? Tell us in the comments. And tell us this too. Of everything we showed you in this video, which single place made you stop and think that is not possible? Which one genuinely challenged what you believed could be built? We want to know. If this video was worth your time, share it with one person who needs to see these places. Subscribe if you are not already here. And tap the notification bell because what we are covering next belongs on this list too. We will see you there.